What's good, friends list, episode 102 of the Gamecast coming at you. E3 is finally upon us, and it's all getting started with Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest kickoff live, with world premieres and new games galore, including, finally, Elden Ring. Baby, let's go! So, this week, we get you caught up on all the new juicy games from the event as we inch closer to Xbox and Bethesda's big day next week. Plus, Microsoft is beginning to position themselves to have the Xbox ecosystem enter your home in an easier fashion. That's right, through your smart TV, but that doesn't mean the consoles are going away anytime soon. Does this updated commitment deter you from buying a traditional game console? All of this and much more on the newest jam-packed episode of the Game Pass Gamecast.
Now the fun begins.
Budget.
Stop! You violated the law.
Welcome back to another episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, and PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversation around damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show when they drop each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So, be sure to subscribe to us, rate us, review us, all that jazz that I tell you every week, wherever you get a podcast at. You know the whole rigmarole. I don't have to tell you all the time. And follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show. Video games like in our dope giveaways. I'm your host, as always, Travis White, aka Travelus, on most internet platforms. Joining me, as always, my partner in crime, Mike Peapack. Mike, what's good? What's going on? What have you been playing? And how have you just been doing this glorious E3 media week heading into all the shows? You know, how have you been preparing mentally? You know, where are you at? Are you hyped? You know, what's good and what's going on in Mike Peapack's world right now?
Yeah, for me, I've been playing a little bit more of Company of Heroes, been enjoying that. I mean, the three of us is kind of, me, you, and Marshy have kind of been getting into that game a lot. So
yes,
we've been enjoying
have.
that. I've been really enjoying that experience personally. Outside of that, really haven't been playing a whole heck of a lot. I've been playing some Halo still, Halo 3, Halo 2 here and there, but nothing too crazy. So outside of that, just to get into the E3 content, I'm certainly stoked for E3. I'm ready to see what, you know, has been kind of in the oven cooking for some of these companies. I'm really thrilled to see what's coming. And there's some news in Button Mash that I'm super excited about. I know we're not going to be seeing about it in E3, but my hype levels are relatively conservative at this point in time for E3 itself. Just because I think it's a really nerve-wracking experience to be kind of in this situation where it's like whatever 343 shows here is kind of what we're going to be seeing going forward. And it's equally exciting as it is terrifying.
No, definitely. It's one of those things that, like, what we see is what we get at this point. Like, if they're committing to this fall 2021 release date, or holiday 2021, whatever you want to call it, I know there's been some rumors floating around about a September release date, which I don't buy, and I think 343 even kind of addressed that, saying like, no, don't believe the hype on that one. But yeah, if they're committing to a fall 2021 release date, I don't know how many of our listeners truly know about the actual, you know, inside baseball of game development, but yeah, this isn't where the sausage is made. The sausage is made, and it's just kind of being put the polish on it a little bit at this point. Like, if it's coming out in November, if it's truly coming around, you know, around then or whatever, I think a lot of people expect November. Yeah, you're gonna, what you see is what you get. You know, it'll be a little more polished out the box, but what you see is what you get at this point. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they definitely 100% made the absolute correct decision to go ahead and delay it last time because of the backlash. And I think, you know, 343 has come out and made it clear that the game wasn't where they wanted it to be either, to be fair. So, you know, they've made the right decision to delay it at that point in time and kind of put it back in the oven and see what they could work up. They made that right call, so we'll see, you know, what's coming. But again, like you're saying, it's to the point now where if it's not ready, I mean, at this point, if we don't see a lot of the game, it's not coming out this year. And I know they were hard stuck on saying, oh, yeah, it's getting released in this year. But I've also been on record saying I wouldn't be shocked if it wasn't released this year because it just might not be ready.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And you never know. I mean, who the hell knows? We may get to June, or we are in June. We may get to Sunday at this point, and we may, straight up get a, hey, it's releasing now spring 2022. I doubt that. I think we're seeing this fall 2021, but if we get a release date, who knows? I'm kind of torn. I don't think we will, just because of how they've been burned now twice, kind of technically on release dates, and first announcing it whenever in, I think that was E3 2019 with the Discover Hope trailer. That they put it saying, hey, we're launching it alongside the next gen Xbox, at that point, calling it, what was it? Was it Scorpio? No, it wasn't Project Scorpio. What was it? Fuck, I can't remember now. Anyways, though, saying, hey, it's launching alongside the next gen Xbox, yada yada, it's coming then. And then fast forward to the game showcase, hey, it's still launching there, yada yada, and then obviously being burned. So I think whatever they say this time, it's coming out hell or high water. Right, wrong, and different, but it is what it is, kind of at that point. But no, I'm with you on that one. But on my end, just kind of in terms of been playing a whole hell of a lot I can't talk about yet, because it's E3 Media Week, and goddamn NDAs and legal mumbo jumbo, and I do enjoy getting that access, so I can't talk about that stuff. But been playing a lot of indies too, which was my main goal of getting into, with us getting E3 coverage this year, and getting access to a lot of stuff. I wanted to make sure I got a lot of coverage with indie games. So there's a lot of really, really cool indie games coming to PC and Xbox that, I'm really excited to talk about next week when we are able to. So I'll table that for now, but before we go down any rabbit holes. But outside of that, I've been dabbling in a lot of backwards compatibility stuff. One thing I did get, I treated myself to a Xbox Elite Series 2 controller. I made I made the plunge. I got a little bonus at work, so I was like, you know what? Fuck it. You know what? I'm gonna, because I want to have a nice controller that is transferable around a lot of my devices that I have, whether it's, with xCloud, whether it's with PC, whether it's with my Xbox. And two, I have a fucking vendetta right now against the traditional Xbox, either One or Series X/S controller, because it still fucking uses AA batteries. That's not the reason why I spent the money on that directly, but it is a nice perk that I could just throw it in, literally in the case. It has a built-in charger, which is fucking sick. So being able to do that, throw it in there, it's great. The controller's build quality is, bar none, that controller is hands down the best controller I've ever used. And this is coming from somebody who loves the build and the actual layout of the new Series X controller, as well as I actually like both next-gen console controllers. I love the DualSense too, but I really, really, really love the build quality of this controller. So I'm ready to get in and, kind of put a lot of time into that and actually get some wear and tear into it. But yeah, I've been jumping across a lot of backwards compatibility stuff. I went back, started Splinter Cell again. I started Metal Gear Solid 2. Been obviously jumping into Oblivion. Just trying. I really wanted to get in and try a lot of backwards compatibility stuff on the Series X, because for some reason I just haven't really had the chance to do that yet. A lot of the stuff I've been playing either on Game Pass or whatever, whenever I am playing on my Xbox. So. And typically it is, either newer AAA stuff, or there are, I dabble in it. But traditionally I've been playing now, when I do play Oblivion or Elder Scrolls or something like that, I usually play it on PC. So getting back into it on console, the thought also too crossed my mind. I'm going on vacation next week, which naturally kind of sucks for our coverage. We're going to make it work. I'm going to take my laptop with me and my mic, and we're going to record while I'm at the beach. Especially, it's supposed to rain half the time we're there naturally, so there will definitely be times to do that. But of course I'm going to be on the plane while Xbox and Bethesda's conference is going on. So I'm going to watch that delayed. I'm going to be in, blackout mode until then. But from that end, just really wanting to, I've been wanting to get in and play a lot of backwards compatibility stuff. I wanted to, be able to try all that out. And too, also with it kind of hit me too. I was like, you know what? I finally need to go ahead and order one of those clips for your controller that you can clip your phone onto with xCloud. So I finally did that. So I'm hopefully going to get some time in there. Also too, totally didn't realize, but pretty much like the majority of it, I don't want to say the majority, but there is a vast amount of games that are on Game Pass that are now truly like cloud enabled, and Oblivion's one of them. So I'm ready to play Oblivion handheld right now. Like, it's over. I'm just going to go on the beach, fucking crack a beer, sit there, and just fucking soak up the sun and probably play a little Oblivion. But, I mean, it doesn't fucking get any better than that. I mean, but no, in all seriousness, though, I'm really excited to try out, like, a lot of different aspects of Xbox's secondary software that I haven't really, I don't want to say I haven't used, but haven't used to the extent that I thought I would by June of 2021 right now. So I'm excited to have that time this week to kind of sit down and do that. Now that I have, I'll have the clip and I'll have a controller that I can charge and not have to worry about, even though if I'm going to the beach and playing, which I don't know if I fucking will, but I'm probably not going to take my $200 controller with me. I'll probably take one of like my older like Xbox One controllers with me, but I digress. Mike, we got a lot going on in the news this week, so why don't we head into Button Mash just to get everyone rolling with the quick hit stuff before we head into our big topics for this week. And we got a lot to cover on that end too. So if you're new to the show, Button Mash, let's head into it. It's where we run through our quick hit news stories for the week, get you caught up on everything before we head into our bigger topics and news for the week. So kicking off Button Mash, starting with Blizzard, a developer I still love that, it's the, I keep coming back to you. You keep hurting me, but I keep coming back. It's one of those things. So, but Blizzard, a developer and publisher that we truly do love, but been burned at times. But Blizzard has announced a cross-play beta is coming soon to Overwatch. Yay! Allowing players to team up whether they're on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, or Switch. Obviously, we're a little more concerned with PC and Xbox. The cross-play beta is available thanks to the new global Battle.net update, which also merges friends lists from different territories. So that means you no longer have to switch regions in Battle.net to play with friends. To enable crossplay for Overwatch, players can log into their Battle.net account and link the appropriate console account, PSN, Xbox Live, Switch Online, yada yada. And as a bonus, players who log into Battle.net to enable crossplay by December 31st, 2021 will receive a golden loot box for free. Battlefield 2042 finally announced. We've been fucking seeing leaks about this game for months now and hearing about it, and to be quite frank, I don't really care about Battlefield. I personally think it's the past handful of releases have been pretty meh, personally, but it seems like there are people who are, still obviously interested in it. So Battlefield 2042 finally revealed, I should say, won't have a single player campaign. So that doesn't necessarily help me too much because multiplayer in Battlefield and I have never really clicked. So I did enjoy Battlefield 1's campaign. That was really sick. But it won't have a single player campaign when it launches in October, despite campaigns being a key part of the vast majority of Battlefield games, and especially in recent years. It also won't return to a Battle Royale mode. Instead, it's going to focus on its multiplayer campaign, which supports 128 players on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X/S, and 64 on PS4 and Xbox One. In an interview with Eurogamer, Battlefield 2042 design director Daniel Berlin explained why the game is missing a single-player campaign, saying focus on multiplayer allowed DICE to, quote, lean into what we do best. Lean into what we are best at, Quote, if you look at the DNA of the studio, what we've been doing for so long, we just said, you know what? We're not going to have a traditional single-player campaign this time around, but we're going to put all of that emphasis and all of those resources into building depth into multiplayer because that is what we do best. Obviously, it can't be a Game Pass Gamecast episode without talking about Halo Infinite, as we already did kind of technically, but it's Halo Infinite and Oblivion. It seems like those are the two that always end up on there. But anyways, a Halo Infinite wall calendar, here we go, we're getting into the weeds now, Mike, has revealed some artwork from the game, revealing a number of details, including the potential return of a fan favorite vehicle, the Chopper. Posted in this Reset Era thread, the Halo Infinite 2022 wall calendar features artwork that fans haven't seen yet, including one image that shows the Chopper vehicle, which first appeared in Halo 3 and hasn't appeared in a Halo game since Halo 3 ODST. While it doesn't outright confirm that the Chopper is in Infinite, it strongly suggests it'll have a part to play in the final game. Quote, "I can't wait to laser some brute choppers in BTB," said one user on Reset Era. I agree, that will be fun. A new report has suggested the Call of Duty Warzone's Verdansk map will be exchanged for a World War II era Pacific Theater location upon the launch of the next mainline Call of Duty game. Mike, you were kind of talking to me about this earlier this week. According to VGC, Warzone will be revamped to coincide with the launch of a new World War II themed game named Call of Duty Vanguard later this year. This will allegedly replace the 1980s Eastern European map Verdansk with a new, much larger map based on the 1940s Pacific Theater of War. The new map is said to feature vehicles to help travel across the increased size and utilize new technology upgrades from the Modern Warfare engine, which is what the new Call of Duty game will also be built on. Head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, has quietly criticized other developers that port their games to PC after initial release and charge full price for the new versions. Bust out the tea, Mike. We're gonna get a little tea, as the kids say. I think that's what the kids say. Spencer didn't say he was talking about PlayStation, but he was talking about PlayStation, let's be quite honest. In a video shown to the press this week, Spencer explained Xbox is currently, quote, "the only platform shipping games on console, PC, and cloud simultaneously." He then compared that to other companies. Quote, others bring console games to PC years later, not only making people buy their hardware up front, but then charging them a second time to play on PC. And, of course, all of our games are in our subscription service day one, full crossplay included. Images from an in-development game called Battle Cat have leaked online, showing something that combines several of Ubisoft's largest Tom Clancy games into an objective-based PvP multiplayer game. Yay. The images posted to Twitter by account 0bytes0 have been reported on by VGC, which claims the information is authentic and relates to a first-person shooter in development at Ubisoft for PC and console. Battlecat is allegedly in the early stages of development and will not be shown at Ubisoft Forward later this weekend. 0bytes claimed that testing began around January, and also, too, they just don't want Sam Fisher to ever be in a video game by himself ever again. So that's what I think about that. And finally, Mike, Far Cry 5's level editor is pretty robust, as we know. And now someone has just straight up remade GoldenEye into Ubisoft's first-person shooter. YouTuber Crawlywood has spent the last 2.5 years essentially remaking all 18 levels of GoldenEye on the PS4 version of Far Cry 5. According to Kotaku, Crawlywood spent 1,400 hours recreating 1997's GoldenEye in Far Cry 5, and they've successfully built every level except for the 2 bonus stages. You can check out Crawlywood's trailer and an in-depth walkthrough of all the work that he's done over on his YouTube channel. So, Mike, for all of that, what do you want to run back? Anything you want to talk about again before we head into our big topics from Button Mash?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I kind of want to talk about is the BattleNet change. A staple as old as BattleNet itself, which the cool kids like me who used to play back in the day called it BNet. Way back, we're talking the year 2001. A staple as old as BNet itself was the region-locked services. So you would have an account on US East, US West. If you were playing StarCraft, you could make an account on the European servers, the Asian servers. I know that was really popular back whenever Brood War was like, the esport. I mean, people from America still will play on Korean servers to play against better competition, but I know that was a thing then that you had to, select what server you were going to be on. And I do want to say that the update itself does make it easier to connect with friends, obviously. But I think that's a huge deal because Blizzard's been kind of brutalized lately ever since the falling out of the Overwatch situation, which rightfully so, they've been criticized. But I just feel like this is a step forward in the right direction for Blizzard themselves, for Activision, but more importantly for cross-platform support for the entire industry. Because I was really surprised, like, recently when I was playing some Call of Duty with some old friends that I used to play with, they were playing on their PlayStations, and I was playing on PC, and we were playing just fine. And you know, that's been kind of commonplace, and people kind of might overlook that at this point in time because Fortnite did it first. But I don't think you can really overstate how cool it is to be able to play with people across platform because you know, a long time ago that wasn't even ever going to be. That was something that people might fight you over, not like physically altercation, but argue with you like, yeah, you'll never be able to play with someone on Xbox if you're on PlayStation, and so on and so forth. So that's a pretty big deal. Good for Blizzard and Activision for moving forward. I want to talk about Microsoft really quickly because, you know, coming down the show, you do have a little bit more about them. But I will say that Phil Spencer and Microsoft continue to, you know, they just talk the talk and walk the walk when it comes to their messaging to their customers. I think what Microsoft is focused most on right now is building value. And that's their way of trying to compete with Sony is just by building value and building a platform. That's a huge deal because they don't want to go head to head with them in sales of hardware and games because, you know, they saw with Xbox One, it didn't really go their way. And it also fits their business model. So it really makes sense. And I am cautiously optimistic about BattleCat. I know everyone out there is going to be like, it's probably going to be another fucking stupid ass Wildlands or something, but you never know. Fingers crossed. I'm personally longing for a traditional Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six, Splinter Cell experience. So if it's a mixture of all of them, that's terrific. I need it really bad. I feel like personally for me, Ubisoft has kind of missed the mark, and this could bring older fans back because there's a lot of old dedicated fans that love this series or love these series and love these games. And Ubisoft could really tap into some of those older customers if they're able to, you know, take advantage of this because Rainbow Six Siege, great esport, great service for them. It's just not what anyone who likes Rainbow Six is looking for. Just being blunt, just being honest, man. It's just not the same experience. Ghost Recon people, I know you guys are out there too, and you're talking about what about me? I was more of a Rainbow Six guy, but I did enjoy Ghost Recon games. I know you're looking for something, and you know Travis talks about it basically every episode now, and for good reason because you know the Splinter Cell universe is one that I felt like still has a lot of life left. I feel like they did beat it pretty bad back when it was first coming out, but you're talking about an entire like 2-generation cycle of consoles that needs a Splinter Cell experience, man. That's the thing that I'm most optimistic about whenever you're talking about any of these games is I'm super pumped to see what it is in the next gen with all the new technology changes. We haven't played a Splinter Cell game in forever. The last one I think was like Double Agent, was it? On the Xbox 360. We're really longing for one of those. So that's just my my take on button mash as a whole today.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now. Trying to think what the last one. I can't remember if it was Blacklist or
it might have been Blacklist, I think, actually.
Let me see. Because I can't fucking remember. Why can't you give me a list of Tom Clancy games or Splinter Cell games, you know? Why can't you just do that, Wikipedia?
That'd be too easy.
Yes, Blacklist was the last one. So the point still stands that we've gone now. There's two game franchises that I'm almost destined to buy every time they have a new release. I'm pretty much now. Granted, you know me. I would imagine the listeners know me at this point. I'm probably going to buy any video game at this point now that you know I've even somewhat little interested in. You know, I'll give it a shot. If not at launch, right down the road. But two that really stand out. Obviously, the Elder Scrolls. I mean, that is a day one. No matter what happens with 6, I'm going to buy it day one. I'm going to go in there or, you know, we'll review it or whatever, you know, however it goes. But on top of that, Splinter Cell. It seems like anytime a new Splinter Cell game comes out, that is my jam. Those are two. And I'm not even that big of a stealth person. I don't know why Splinter Cell has always stood out to me. But you know what they both have in common, Mike? They both have now gone a full console generation without a true sequel.
Exactly.
And they're two game franchises that people just keep fucking asking for. Like, it's like the meme with the little anime girl who's like, goes up, takes her money up to the lemonade stand. She's like, one Splinter Cell, please. And they're just like, here's Battle Cat. Like,
Yeah, it's like,
I
that's
get
not
it.
what we want.
Like, I get it. Live service games drive revenue. I totally understand. They want retention. They want people there long term. They're saying, hey, we can sell somebody this $60 game and we're only going to get $60 out of them forever, by just this one game. It has a depreciable value, at least during its, console lifestyle. Once it, goes out of rotation, sometimes it does go up in price. Yada, yada. You get what I'm saying. But, in the time being, yeah, we can only make $60 off them, maybe some DLC down the road, but we can make this live service game that'll last potentially 3 to 5 years, and we can keep pumping new stuff in there, loot boxes and constant new content, skins, anything you want, and we can make, maybe we launch it for $20, but by the end of the day, we make $300 off these people. Like, I get it. It's shitty, but I get it. And it's business. It's just, it's sad that we're not seeing at times from these large-scale AAA publishers, third party that is, I should say, that we're not seeing the support that I would really like to see for these actual franchises. That, I just, it sucks to see so many fan favorite franchises, people that, you hear so many people saying, yes, I would love to play another Splinter Cell. I would love to give more money to play that. Like, I know you can't always get what you want, but like, it's, people are willing to pay for this stuff. Like, you're going to make money. Like, with Metal Gear no longer really being a thing anymore, and Konami not really caring about video games anymore, like, Splinter Cell is the easy answer to that for the people who say, not only have been saying, I want a new Splinter Cell, but the loud vocal, fan base of Metal Gear who has been saying, we're ready for more Metal Gear. It's been 6 years. We're ready. Okay, here's an answer for you. Like, that's the whole reason why Splinter Cell came to be, was because of Metal Gear. Like, it's frustrating to say the least, but now I'm all riled up. Now I'm all fucking riled up. But
I'm just hoping it's like one of those things where they like kind of just test the water to figure out like, it's fucking crazy that a company could be so out of touch with its customer base or the market in general that they would have to do this. But I'm just like praying to God it's some way like a market tester, like, do people still like these games? And they release this game and then they realize, holy shit, people still do like these games. Maybe we should make one.
Right. And even if it's, I'm totally cool with, I'm in the camp of, and I feel like I've been pretty vocal about this on the show before, but like, I'm in the camp of, I love my, meaty 40 to 60 hour games. Love them. Don't get me wrong. I love getting lost in open worlds, yada, yada. But I will gladly take a 8 to 10 hour title at $40. Like, that is awesome. You can do that. Like, do that game that has a dev cycle of 3 years or something that's built off a previous engine or whatever you want to call it. Like, it's okay to make a Spider-Man Miles Morales. It's okay to make an Uncharted Lost Legacy. It's okay to, have these, I don't want to say shorter titles or lesser titles or anything like that, because they're not, but these stories that may be a little bit more bite-sized compared to their, mainline entries or whatever. Like, you can make a Splinter Cell game that is, a 10-hour experience, and people are going to buy it up still. Like, it's going to happen. You can put it out for $40. It can be a side project. Do it for the people who are, investing long-term into Battle Cat or whatever you want to, call it down the road, like whatever live service title you have. Because I'm a Ubisoft fan. Like, I know I'm kind of bitching a little bit, but like, I'm a fan of Ubisoft. I think they're one of the better modern AAA publishers. I think they do surprisingly do a lot of, fan favorite things. They don't quit on their games. I will give them that. Look at the original Division. Look at Rainbow Six Siege. Look at like these games look at them reassessing Assassin's Creed. Mm-hmm. Like, they've been doing a lot of things that their fan base has asked, and they've done some consumer friendly things to make that happen. But at the same time, they're still in the business of making money, especially with how big of an entity they are in gaming. It's just, I understand, but it's tough to see as somebody who has played their games for so long and, see the conversations around, hey, we want to see Sam Fisher outside of a DLC character or a mobile game or something. You know, especially now, like new fans of gaming or like, you know, kids who are gaming now, they don't know who the hell Sam Fisher is. And he was a prominent figure for hell, what, 10 plus years in gaming? Like it's crazy to me that a franchise that well regarded and that respected and that was that commercially successful felt like, oh, it's run its course. And it's like, really? I don't know. It just surprised me. There's a hole right now for that I feel like, especially with how much of a resurgence single player gaming has had over the past, you know, half decade or so, and how much emphasis has been put on great single player games and the longevity they have and the amount of money that's made on them. I mean, look at Sony. Sony, granted, Sony is Sony and they have an excellent track record of first person narrative games, but I mean, look at Ghost of Tsushima, for example. Like when that came out, people have been asking for the Asian equivalent of Assassin's Creed. They wanted a feudal Japan Assassin's Creed for so long. Okay, well, Sucker Punch went out and made an excellent version of that game. And look at the sales numbers behind that. For an exclusive single-player game, they're fucking fantastic. And it's fucking highly regarded. Like, it's just not rocket science to me that you're this entity being Ubisoft, who, like I said, I think does a great job. I love their games that they do play or do make. Like, I enjoy a lot of them. I just feel like it's at times throwing a blind eye to your community and your fan base and stuff like that. It sucks. I want to see, I think there's room to make both entities happy when you have the bankroll that Ubisoft has and you have the reach that they have. You know, I just think it's crazy not to be able to do that, but I digress, Mike. Let's head into the news before I get jammed up even more. Anyways, though, Mike, let's head into our big topics for this week. And of course, the biggest one we got to talk about, E3's here, baby. Summer Games Fest live, kickoff, whatever you want to call it. Jeff Keighley's bash. I don't know. Anyways,
I feel like everything's like kind of played out like squat. Like, what are you going to... Yeah, I don't know.
His shindig. How about that? I don't know.
Yeah.
That sounds boomerish. Anyways, though. Summer Games Fest kickoff live. The first live event that isn't officially... Or the first live event around E3. It's not officially with E3, but it's very tongue-in-cheek, a part of E3 and kicking off E3. It's kind of like the college football playoffs, where it's like, yeah, it's the national championship. National championship of what? You know, yeah, yeah. It's like the NCAA. I don't know. Yeah, this guy. You know, like. Anyways, this guy, finger guns. But yeah, Summer Games Fest. It's the unofficial kickoff for E3. A lot of big stuff coming out of it. Was happy I got to kind of watch it live, get it, you know, set to go. I'm officially on vacation right now, starting today, because I'm technically working from home tomorrow, recording on Thursday. But Paul, if you're listening to this, you'll probably tell me, yeah, shut up, don't do any work. But point being, yes, so I was able to get out of work a little bit early to make sure I was home to kind of cover it and everything like that, especially because I had meetings all day yesterday with E3. So I'm very happy I was able to sit down and cover it because there was a lot of really, really good stuff to go through. So let's kick it over and kind of run through it. So, of course, the big thing to come out of E3, or come out of Summer Games Fest, Elden Ring. Mm-hmm. It finally was shown. Finally.
It caused quite the uproar on Twitter.
It did. I mean, Twitter collectively melted for a solid... It was like every person who played video games had a simultaneous orgasm for about 20 minutes and was like, for the next 20 minutes after that trailer was done, everyone was just like laying naked in bed smoking a cigarette. Like, what a ride, man. What a ride. It's crazy too. And Jeff set it up so perfectly. He was like, all right, it's time for the grand finale. Like, you could tell how giddy he was. And I do want to pull up one thing before we get into it. Let me pull up. He put out a tweet while we were sitting here that popped up on my notifications that I thought was really cool and really telling of how. And I'm not the biggest From Software guy. Not the biggest Soulsborne guy. I shouldn't say From Software. I know how great they are as a developer and why their games are so liked. But I'm somebody who likes Dark Souls. I like Bloodborne. Like, it's just not necessarily. I like Sekiro. Like, it's not necessarily my go-to, but I do love them, and I respect what they do. So, but one thing especially too, I do want to point out too, Jeff put out this tweet saying, what you may not know, Miyazaki-san, the creative director behind and the grandfather of Dark Souls and everything like that, Miyazaki-san and From Software wanted to place the trailer at the end of the show as a reward for fans who watched the whole event, and to use the anticipation to lift up / elevate all games throughout the showcase. A true class act. And I definitely, I wanted to highlight that because that really shows you, the people who have a platform, people who have something this anticipated, that I can tell right from the get-go that, yes, they know they're going to make a killing on this game. They know this is the most anticipated game outside of probably Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, in terms of third-party titles at least. They know how anticipated this game is. They know how much their fan base has been asking and craving about this game, waiting for it to be at every event, that they wanted to use that, and they wanted to use it in the right way, knowing, yes, we're going to be that and one more thing, type of ending to the event, but they wanted to use it the right way, that they wanted to say, hey, we want to make sure, we don't want to be the opening thing. We don't want to blow the load right off the bat, but we want to make sure that all these other publishers, developers, especially the independent ones, like, they get this time to shine. They get their message out there that, hey, yes, Elden Ring is a real thing finally, but we want to make sure you see everything else as well, because you're already going to buy our game. So I just thought it was really cool to see that. But Mike, just kind of looking at Elden Ring, don't know if you got to see the trailer of it yet or not, because you were working and it was literally the last thing to pop up. But I'll be honest, like I said, I'm not the biggest Soulsborne fan. I'm not, I like them enough, and I finally started to click with Dark Souls Remaster earlier this year and need to finish it. I want to go back and finish it. Clicked with Sekiro, didn't finish it. I have a problem finishing them. But I'll be honest, this looks like finally a Dark Souls game or a Soulsborne game that I finally want to, day one, buy. No hesitation, get in. And seeing their take on open world Souls, or, having that, what do I want to call it? Not abrasiveness, but the tactical nature and the game that demands your attention and your ability to actually learn, moves and learn how to attack, face certain combat situations. This game finally, this will be the first one I jump in day one. Looking at the open world, looking at the creativity, I'm a big fan of George R.R. Martin. I was right in off the bat, even though it's so natural of him to talk about something and then not talk about it again for 4 years or whatever, and, just leave fucking people hanging and being like, oh, yeah, it's coming. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, this guy. But
back to that.
Back to this guy. but yeah, it's so George R. R. Martin. But point being, though, I'm really excited for this game. I think it looks fantastic. I think the wait so far has been worth it to see what this game does, because I think this is going to be the game that gets a lot of people into Souls. I think Dark Souls, even though the remastered version is really good, it really tightens up the game a little bit, and even though it's only a remaster and bringing it up the scale a little bit, but it really I think is going to be, Elden Ring is going to be the game that brings in a lot of casual people. So if you did get a chance to check out the trailer, and from what you've seen of it and everything, Mike, what are your thoughts on it? What do you think so far with Elden Ring? Do you think so far the hype is real? The hype is worth it? Do you think, the ability now to take mounts and things like that, do you think this is a game, as somebody who, likes these games that are traditionally, I don't want to say brutally difficult, but demand you to learn how to master the games, like a Ninja Gaiden, like a Neo, like Sekiro, I know you were into that. Do you think this is a game that, one, you're going to be interested in, and two, bring in a new audience of people that may not have been interested before?
Yeah, I didn't actually get to catch the trailer, unfortunately, because I was at work and I got here as soon as I could. And unfortunately, we got a little bit busier at work than I would have liked. So I didn't get to catch up on that as much. But um, for games of that nature, like you said, you kind of hit the nail on the head for me. I have always been someone who genuinely I do enjoy the challenge and I do enjoy the feeling I get when I do beat those games or at least progress in those games. So it's one that I'm definitely going to give a fair shout out to. I think, from what I've seen some screenshots. I didn't get to catch the whole trailer, but I watched a little bit of it. I do think that people are legitimately hyped for a very good reason, and all the hype around it is a big deal because I think it's going to do a good job of bringing in outside fans that might have not wanting to tap into that game just because of its difficulty or whatever, because there's a lot of good intangibles that are being built with this game. I think the different added elements of open world and the mounts and things of that nature will give people a sort of RPG-esque feel because the game ultimately is going to be, I mean, I guess you would technically call it an RPG when you get into those games, but to me, it's more about, I think, we've talked about it before. Everyone kind of talks about them being Soulsborne type games.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're almost in a league of their own.
They are very much. No Soulsborne, like, no game is as truly similar to Dark Souls, and it's almost like the Bethesda thing, where it's like there's so many open world first person fantasy RPGs or post-apocalyptic first-person RPGs, but nobody really, like, Bethesda has that secret formula that makes a Fallout and an Elder Scrolls stand out. Like, you truly, when you're playing that, you specifically know you're playing a Bethesda open-world RPG. I think From Software does the same exact thing, where you have Nioh, you have Ninja Gaiden, you have, like, and granted, Ninja Gaiden, obviously, a different style of that, but this is being an action RPG. Nothing feels like this. You have Mortal Shell. You have these games that have taken that formula as well and thought, hey, like, we like this idea and we're such fans of this. We want to improve a couple little things with it, and while that's great and, those games are great in their own regard, there's something about the secret sauce with a From Software game that truly makes it its own. Period. Like I'm the same. I'm agreeing with you wholeheartedly that this is that's why I think Soulsborne has become a genre onto itself. That when people want to describe stuff, describe these style of games that have these RPG elements and are these action adventure game, almost like a Zelda in a sense. I mean, I know the original Dark Souls was very much inspired by Zelda in a lot of ways. That it has these elements, but it's so wholly unique to itself. You got to call it Soulsborne. Not to interrupt you, but I just want to. You totally hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that there's a pretty big conglomeration of people out there that don't even get involved with those games because they don't like the difficulty. So I do think that with the recent changes with people trying to make games. People are more welcoming to ever than everyone saying, hey, play the game that you want to, the way you want to play it. You want to play it on an easier difficulty, that's fine. Do your thing. People aren't really that chat about it anymore, I guess, is an internet term to use for it. I think that based on the hype that I've seen on Twitter, which is huge because I do follow a lot of gaming people on Twitter, but I haven't seen people be this excited for a game in a long time. So I think that it's going to do a very good job of drawing people that it normally might not draw. And I think that's great for the genre itself and for gaming. I think when people kind of get outside of their comfort zone, and I'm one person who really needs to do this a lot more. I'm one person who kind of sticks to my guns and doesn't really broaden my horizons, unfortunately. I need to get better at it. And I think this will help other people get better at that too.
No, definitely. I totally agree with you. And I get into that, from time to time where it's like, I'll get on binges of Overwatch and things like that, where it's like, I am stuck on that forever and that's all I want to play. And, I kind of stick to the same thing. And same with, like, you hear me talk about Oblivion. I go back to that game that's fucking 15 years old now or whatever. Like, there's other RPGs I could play. Like, like, there's other things. Like, yeah, I'll get to it, but I know this one's great. I can go right back to it. So I'm the same way at times. But but yeah, I do think this is going to open up the door to a lot of people's first times getting into Soulsborne. And like almost to a degree that I think Sekiro did, to not the same extent, but definitely had the ability to, where I think that because of its style and because of its fast-pacedness, almost like Bloodborne 2, where Bloodborne is a much more fast-paced Soulsborne game, or, obviously Soulsborne being with that, but Sekiro kind of fell in that regard where it's a little quicker paced, almost more action-oriented, like not a Devil May Cry, but you could feel elements of it in there, not as fast, but as fluid almost at times, where... I think that opened the door to a lot of people to get in, where I think this is going to do. I mean, looking at this is much more fantasy than Dark Souls, where Dark Souls was much more, I don't want to say grim and not gothic, because Bloodborne is definitely more gothic than Dark Souls, but it had that almost, it felt more decayed. Like when you look at this game already stands out for the sole fact that you look at and you see the color palette this game has, comparative to a Dark Souls, comparative to a Sekiro, comparative to a Bloodborne, which is literally like, hey, let's just use black, gray, and make everything look fucking wet. Like, no offense to it. The art direction is great in that game, but it is two tones and it is wet. Everything's wet.
Let's make the people that play our games feel the existential dread let's make them feel existential dread or see existential dread, which is what they're going to feel when they play this game.
Right, exactly. Exactly. You want to see depression manifested? Here you go, man.
Not only are you going to hate yourself for playing it, but you're going to hate the world too.
Right, exactly. But anyway, so yes, I'm excited for Elden Ring. Finally got to see it. Finally saw gameplay of it. And it seems like we're going to potentially, I don't know for sure. And this isn't, I didn't see anything. I think I'm allowed to say this. I didn't see anything from Bandai Namco this week yet. So I don't, I'm not saying this as I know anything, but we should probably, I would imagine, see a little bit more at Bandai Namco's showcase, because they do have one, and they're obviously the publisher on this game. And for the sole fact too that what else is Bandai Namco really putting out right now? I mean, besides maybe another Dragon Ball Z game or an update to Kakarot or DBZ Fighters, things like that. So we'll have to see. I would imagine, though, we do see maybe a little bit more of maybe even a deep dive type of thing into this, but I don't know. It's up to, it's up in the air. But outside of that, though, let's move on to... I need to remember what the date was for this. There it is. Anyways, though, Mike, let's move on kind of down the show a little bit. And the next game I kind of wanted to bring up, at least from going through all of this, and, there's a handful, obviously, but I wanted to touch on the ones that I know that's right in our wheelhouse. We got to talk about Back for Blood, man. We got to talk about Back for Blood.
Oh, yeah, baby. Absolutely.
The big thing... Open beta August 12th on PC and console. Obviously, I feel pretty safe we're going to play on PC, but
absolutely.
But open beta, man, August 12th. Finally, no matter what, even though we didn't get a chance to play the closed alpha, still a little salty about that. Come on now. But obviously, though, open beta, then obviously we can order early access on top of that right after. Like, it's going to be great. So, how excited are you for this game? Like, why does... Obviously, not coming out to October. This is a game that we had on our radar right from the bat because of Left 4 Dead. What does this game need to do right off the bat that you think for it to really succeed? Like, do you think in another Left 4 Dead like this being, do you think it has the ability to succeed on the same level as Left 4 Dead previously did? And, we're talking now 10 to 15 years later. Do you think this style of game is needed in the game space right now? Do you think it will be as popular as Left 4 Dead once was on both PC and console? Do you think now that this team, Turtle Rock's on their own and, saying, hey, you guys aren't using this. All right, we're going to pick up the ball and run with this and make our own thing and give people this. Do you think that there's a big enough, there's enough noise around this to make it the game that we hope we're going to see.
Yeah, I feel like this game, Back for Blood, I think what it's going to do is there's been a large conglomerate. I'm using that word twice this show, so write that one down.
There we go. Big brains. We're galaxy brains over here, baby.
For those of you that are counting at home.
Smart boy summer. Let's go.
But this game has a huge following, and the reason being is Left 4 Dead has been a game that has been dead, probably unrightfully so, from Valve for a long time. And it's another one of those games, much like, Splinter Cell, that I guess I can see the allure for developers wanting to get new experiences. But for Valve, it doesn't feel like they're doing much of anything. They're just kind of cash cowing, which is like, they've done a lot of the hard work. They've probably deserved it, right? But I think there's a huge fan base of the Left 4 Dead games that really loved that game, and it was something different. It was a co-op shooter zombie survival game, but the experience was so different from other games that it was unique. And I think that there is a lot of people that are clamoring for that experience again. And to me, what Back for Blood just has to do is give a similar feel to Left 4 Dead. Now, they're going to be on a newer generation. The technology has changed. They're going to be able to probably do a lot of stuff that Left 4 Dead didn't do or couldn't do, and that's going to be a huge benefit to them, because any new experience for Left 4 Dead, I mean, hell, Left 4 Dead came out with a new campaign that was only like 2 chapters long, which was almost like a slap in the face. And some of the biggest streamers in the world were streaming it right off the bat because people have been clamoring for this experience. So for Back for Blood, it's hard to quantify just the feeling that it gives you. I feel like it makes you feel overwhelmed at the correct amount of times, but you can get burnt out from being overwhelmed constantly. Like, if you're constantly dealing with waves and waves of zombies, that's kind of the feeling that I get sometimes with Call of Duty zombies, is once you get to a certain level, it's just so overwhelming constantly, and there's so much stimulation going on. Where Left 4 Dead kind of has these little lulls that happen, and then you have the big waves that come through, and the special infected attack you, and those things are all really awesome. And I think that's something that Back 4 Blood could really capitalize on and take advantage of. And also, one of the underrated parts of it is the different experiences you get at each turn. Like, it might be the same game, but when you play it in a campaign playthrough with your friends versus online versus against a couple of different game modes that you can play, that where you gather gas cans and put it into the generators, all of those things offer a little bit of a different flavor, but it's so much of the same good game that little change in flavor just feels so similar to the rest of it that there's not much change that needs to be done to make it enjoyable. People enjoy those things because they enjoy the base game first and foremost. And then after enjoying that base game, they get to experience they just get to experience it in a little bit different. Instead of a plain pizza, you get a little bit of pepperoni on there. And you throw a little bit of pepperoni and sausage on there. And then, you get to experience all these different little flavor ticks. And at the end of the day, it's still great. It's still pizza. But, you just get some different toppings because you get bored of the same thing over and over again. And I think that's one of the things that Back 4 Blood has going for it is, they'll get to experience that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And it's... Normally, I would say, hey, I feel pretty confident, or, you're taking a formula that has been not only, replicated, in different styles. I mean, look at Call of Duty Zombies in a way, and, stuff like that. Like, granted, a little bit different, but taking that, wave killing zombie, gameplay really, and seeing how Call of Duty kind of, made that such a staple, now, but with what Left 4 Dead did, I feel pretty confident, though, that, I would worry that, hey, you're taking this formula, giving it to an independent developer, they may not have the, ability to financially support continuous content coming out of it, and this and that. I think, though, that I have no problem thinking this game is going to be successful from a community-driven standpoint, where I think
with mods and stuff,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. That I think I feel safe saying that I'm sure Turtle Rock is going to be very open and upfront of, hey, no, we want the community to run with this game. We want to be able to put this game in the hands of creators and make it their own in terms of different campaigns they could do, different modifiers, things like that. Like we want people to be able to play this game like they played Left 4 Dead for how many years now, and Left 4 Dead 2 and yada yada. So I feel very confident that we're going to see this game have a lasting effect in this space, just for the sole fact of anytime I hear it brought up. And now, granted, maybe it's my echo chamber, maybe it's the certain creators that I'm fans of. To me, like, it's a no. Like, it seems like everyone who talks about this game is excited for it. Is excited to say, no, I'm getting all my friends, we're playing this game. That it to me, it's just like, and we're talking on, like I said, content creators who have large scale platforms who are saying like, no, granted, who knows? You never know. They could say one thing and then after a couple weeks get burnt out for it, yada yada, and you got to expect that for some games. But when I think of this game and I think of realistic success, like I can see this game being in the top 30 games that is streamed on Twitch long term. Like, and that's good. Like, that is a good thing. When you think about the amount of games that are out there in the public eye, like, I could see this game being that. I could see it being much more supported than in terms of viewership and whatnot for the next couple years than a Left 4 Dead. Who knows? Obviously, supposedly Valve is making new games outside of just, VR projects and whatnot. Supposedly they're working on more. We'll see. But, who knows? We may get an actual Left 4 Dead. You never know. Depending on the success of this, it may finally put a little fire under their feet and kind of say, hey, come on now, But I wouldn't hold my breath. But I could definitely see this game having the ability to, as long as you put the power in the hands of the creators and people who stream this as well and stuff like that, like, this is a game that I think easily the barrier to entry is so low on it for people being able to pick up and play this. It's not a competitive shooter. It's not anything like that. It's just a fun time with your friends that you're shooting zombies. It doesn't matter what weapon you use. Yeah, sure, certain weapons are going to do this, that, and the other. But hell, when we play and Kyle's with us or something, he just picks up a fucking machete and runs around. Like, yeah, that's okay. And he does work. That's fine. Like, I'm okay with that. So I think this is a game that
it has the potential to be competitive, though, because back whenever Left 4 Dead first came out, there were people that played it and took it really seriously. And I know one of the methods of playing, of course, esports, me talking about that. One of the methods was like the last person in line, because of the special infected being human controlled and being so able to flank on some maps. The last person in line used to have to run backwards through the entire map just to make sure they weren't going to get flanked by special infected. And I mean, people took it pretty seriously. And like you said, there is a huge group of people that will play this casually, myself included. And there's going to be a ton of people that, or maybe not a ton, it's going to probably be pretty niche, but there's going to be a lot of people that enjoy it competitively too. And why not? Like, it's the right mix of everything. You get one turn to go through as humans in a chapter, and then you play the special infected. You know what I mean? It's a really cool idea, and it's just so simple. It's a simple addition to just a great game.
No, absolutely. And like I said, I'm so excited for it. I'm so excited to jump into it and just really sink my teeth into it. Get us all playing this game soon. And August sounds like, no matter what, we're going to be playing this in August. Knock on wood. It's open beta, so I would fucking hope so. At the latest, we'll at least get our hands on it. So, Mike, let's look at a couple more here before we move on. A couple more that stuck out. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which is a spinoff for Borderlands, seems to be much more fantasy-based. I thought was kind of interesting. Even though I've played Borderlands a little bit, I bought Borderlands 3 and literally played it one day for like 6 to 8 hours or something, and then never touched it again. Like, I was like heavy into it one day. Like, I just want to fucking rip into, like, I just want to shoot things. I don't care like what the fuck I do. I just want to like shoot some things with my mouse and keyboard. And I remember I played that game like all day, on and off all day, and then never fucking touched it again. But it really looks cool. Couple of others that stood out to me. Metal Slug coming back with a tactical approach, which I thought was really cool. I'm not a big Metal Slug fan, but the art style on it was ridiculously cool. And the tactical approach to it was really, really cool. Almost like an XCOM-esque, style to it. I really, really like that. What else? I saw that the new Aryan Tarkov was coming. We already talked about Back for Blood. What else? Oh, and then Stranger Things coming to Smite.
Oh yeah,
How about
I
that?
actually just read about that. That's crazy to me. I don't know why the crossover's there because I'm someone who has spent some time playing Smite, but
Yeah. That's what surprises me. That not that there's anything. I'm not talking down on Smite by any means, but like as a as a MOBA, it's one that you do hear about. Don't get me wrong, but like it seems to be a little bit lower in the pecking order to obviously a League or Dota. And granted, it's a little bit different style of MOBA, but it's crazy that they're getting a Stranger Things, which Stranger Things, don't get it twisted. Once Stranger Things 4 comes out, Stranger Things is going to be hot in the streets again. Like, it's still hot in the streets right now, but it's going to be fucking huge. Like, Stranger Things is going to be the thing everybody's talking about again. Being the show that everybody fucking loves. And to have that hookup and have that partnership set up, that says a lot about, I think, where Smite's at. I haven't played Smite ever, and I know you have played it, a decent bit here with buddies and your brother and whatnot. What do you think about that? Like, what do you think about, I guess, really what something like this not can do for Smite? Because I think what Smite can do. It has protein, everything like that. But I guess really the longevity and more, potential crossovers and partnerships and, just cool pop culture influences like that. What's that say about Smite, I guess, where it's at right now?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about the game itself because Smite might be a game that traditionally people kind of overlook, and probably rightfully so. I mean, solid game, good MOBA and everything, but it is pretty it's just niche. Like League kind of busted onto the scene and had these huge esports tournaments, and that's kind of how League propelled itself into the popularity that it has. Because I remember when Mike Collins was first playing League, I was basically like, yeah, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I wasn't giving it the time of day. And I think Smite's kind of in this state where it's actually getting more and more people that I know are playing it more and more. And I'm not quite sure what has sparked that interest. I'm just not that familiar with it. But that's great for Smite as a game. It's great for High Res as developers. And I'm just curious to see how they bring Stranger Things into that universe. And I think it's really cool. I think it says a lot about the game that they're able to get that type of partnership because, they did come on to Dead by Daylight, and it does seem like Stranger Things, the creators of Stranger Things are a little bit liberal with their sharing of that game and universe, which is great because it is a special one. I'm just going to be really curious to see how they tie it in. I'm sure 11's going to be one of the gods, but like technically they're supposed to be gods that are in that game. So I don't know, like, is 11 going to be a god? Is the Demogorgon? Like, how are they going to tie that in? Or are they just going to make the Demogorgon one of the unit or one of the enemies on the map that you kill to get experience and gold? Like, I'm not quite sure how that's going to be tied into it. But, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens because that's a game that has stayed relatively true to that, like, Greek gods, Roman gods, Amazon, like, gods from Egypt, gods from Mesopotamia, gods from, the Central and South American region of the world. Everything that they've included is pretty much stayed true to being gods. So I'm not sure where this fits into it, but I'm excited to see how they do it.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And it's a game I've wanted to eventually try out and haven't got around to it, but I definitely do want to give it a shot and eventually get in. Who knows? This might be the one to make me go down the rabbit hole with it, but who knows? But Mike, anything else from the list of stuff we saw today at Summer Games Fest that you kind of want to touch on before we head into our last news article?
Not anything in particular. Unfortunately, I know this is kind of not the greatest to have a show here and me not be that in that educated on the topic because of work.
One thing did stand out: new hide and seek mode coming to Among Us.
Oh, yeah, that'll be interesting. I think that'll be. I'm someone who I did play quite a bit of.
I'm hot
Among
and cold
Us.
with the game.
It's just like, I don't know. It's really weird. Sometimes it depends on the lobbies you're in because sometimes you have people who think they're good in game leaders and think they can keep track of everything, but in reality they just derail the whole situation. And then when they control the lobby because they think that they're the smartest in the lobby or whatever the reason they try to control it is, then like they basically get a free pass at killing people because they can control the lobby and the narrative. It's just really weird, but the hide and seek mode should be a good time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Yeah, it'll definitely at least get me in to try it out. I'll mostly play whatever anybody else wants to play for the most part. Mm-hmm. And anytime anybody is like, even Among Us, like, hey, let's boot it up. All right, yeah, why not? So, and even the mod that we played with Adam that one night was really fun. Like, I dug that. So I'm definitely, the hide and seek mode looks pretty cool. I would at least give it a shot. So I'm definitely down to give it a try. But Mike, let's head into our last news article for the week here, and it's kind of a two-parter a little bit. So, and we kind of touched on a little bit, but now it's much more on the nose right up front. But Xbox experience to be built into TVs and streaming sticks as part of major off-console push. This comes from Joe Scrubbles. Both articles do. Both articles will be linked in there when we get to it. I'll mention that, but obviously links in the description. But both by Joe Scrubbles. We'll go over there and give him clicks on both. But Xbox is going to start building its services directly into TVs, create Xbox streaming devices that negate the need for consoles, and will add cloud gaming directly into PCs and Xbox console experiences. It's the surest sign yet that Microsoft is now thinking beyond traditional devices for gaming, although it insists that consoles remain, quote, its flagship experience. In a pre-E3 2021 briefing, head of Xbox Phil Spencer announced a number of improvements and extensions to the Xbox ecosystem, including its Game Pass subscription service, all-access payment service, and game streaming capabilities. The main takeaway is that, as it's hinted before, Microsoft is beginning to think of how to reach platforms other than Xbox consoles and PCs. The headline additions are, Xbox is working with TV manufacturers to build Xbox experiences directly into internet-enabled TVs with only an extra controller required to play. This would presumably use game streaming services rather than seeing games stored on TV hard drives. Xbox will also build streaming devices for cloud gaming, which will allow players to play Xbox games on TVs or monitors without the need for a console. Phil Spencer previously hinted that streaming sticks could be bundled with a Game Pass subscription, but that wasn't mentioned in the new announcement. Later this year, cloud gaming will be added to Xbox consoles and the Xbox app on PC, meaning you could play games before you buy them and download them. This could also mean that you could begin playing games while they download. Microsoft data centers are being upgraded with Xbox Series X hardware, meaning cloud gaming players could see better load times and frame rates, depending on your internet connection, obviously. And Xbox Cloud Gaming in a browser will soon open to all Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members, supporting Chrome, Safari, and Edge. Of course, no Mozilla Firefox, like all of us have, the goats. Speaking about the company's philosophy going forward, Spencer said, quote, "We want everyone on Earth to be able to join in on gaming, no matter what device you have access to or where you are, and without spending a lot of money on every bit of individual entertainment. Achieving our mission is not going to be easy, and we have a long way to go, but we believe that only this company, only Microsoft, can bring to bear the global scale, the vast well springs of technical innovation, the financial resources, and the deep, decades-long legacy in video games required to truly bring joy and community to everyone here," end quote. And then following up with that, Joe has another article that I want to touch on. Xbox says it's working on new hardware and insists consoles are its, quote, flagship experience. Despite announcing a number of upcoming ways to play Xbox without a console or PC, a Microsoft exec insists that Xbox consoles remain its flagship experience and says work has already begun on, quote, new hardware and platforms. In a video shown for press, CVP of gaming experiences and platforms, Liz Hamrin, explained that Liz Hamrin explained that despite the company's growing interest in cloud gaming for streaming, quote, "We're already hard at work on new hardware and platforms, some of which won't come to light for years." In the video, Microsoft execs repeatedly made clear that the Xbox experience can and will expand beyond traditional platforms. As Phil Spencer puts it, by the company's calculations, there are a potential 3 billion gamers on Earth, but only 200 to 250 million will consider buying a console. But Harmon makes clear that the company is putting emphasis on the console owners. Quote, while we continue to expand in PC and mobile, console remains our flagship experience. We want to deliver the most powerful, capable consoles in the world, devices that empower our players to enjoy amazing games for years to come, including gameplay we can't even imagine yet, end quote. So, Mike, it probably, like I said, doesn't really come to a surprise to many that Microsoft is looking to bring the Xbox platform to really more supported streaming devices, specifically, streamable TVs and streaming sticks and whatnot. We've talked about it on previous shows. I believe last year specifically, we had a show talking specifically about that. But we talked about it before. I think nobody's necessarily surprised about that, but seeing more concrete evidence that this is trending in a positive direction is always nice, because that will open the door to a lot more people and will make it easier to take your gaming with you in any means necessary. At the same time, though, I think people seem more surprised than I expected to see, about Microsoft saying that, hey, yeah, we're working on new hardware already, which is a very common thing to do in the console space. I mean, hell, they were, I guarantee, working on this next Xbox or next piece of hardware, whatever you want to call it, before the Series X even launched. So they're always working on stuff with R&D and whatnot, but it seems like more people are surprised at the fact that they're saying, after them being very proactive with streaming and gaming in ways that isn't a traditional console, it seems like more people are shocked by that, hey, they're sticking to their guns with traditional consoles, which doesn't make any sense to me personally. But should this come as a surprise to anybody? Sure, Microsoft is showing a commitment to streaming, like we said, their content long term, but I think it's very clear that they view traditional gaming experiences via a console to TV, as most people play, as their main focus, and their main focus until years down the road now. So, and on top of that, do you think having the Xbox ecosystem available to streaming TVs will really help bring in more of a casual audience, as I'm sure Microsoft thinks it will? What do you think about all that?
Yeah, this is something this topic exactly is kind of where I was going with Button Mash. So, going back to Button Mash, I stated that Phil Spencer and Microsoft have been walking the walk and talking the talk. And this is no exception to that. They're hellbent on creating a platform of gaming, just to be honest. And this move is going to be very challenging for them, because I do think that we're a little bit ways away from having a true latency-free experience with streaming. But xCloud is getting us to a point where streaming from servers and things of that nature is becoming more and more of a reality. And I do think that whenever Xbox is talking about, we want to be a platform, this is, one of the main pages in their playbook. This is what they're talking about. This is what they're expecting and what they're creating for the future of their games. Because if people don't have an Xbox, that's fine, but they're still going to be able to get in on Xbox Game Pass and things of that nature whenever they have a streaming device, whether it be a Fire Stick or TVs or, whomever and whatever they partner up with to make this a reality. Or I'm sure they're going to release their own streaming thing, like an Apple TV. It'll be a Microsoft thing of some sort. This is a way that you can really hone in on some of those casual fan bases, like people that want to play want to play certain sports games that they can't get on PC, but they're not going to buy a console to enjoy it either. They just don't want it that bad, if that makes any sense. So I think that, people being surprised just really haven't been paying attention to what Microsoft has been saying. People that have been listening to Microsoft and paying attention to what Phil Spencer has said realize that this is perfectly in the realm of reality, and this is what they've been talking about for a long time to this point. This is where they're going, and it's nice that they're just straight up honest and clear with the fan base and the customers as to where they're going.
No, definitely. I totally agree. If you haven't been living under a rock for the most part, or paying to Xbox paying attention to Xbox in any, somewhat of fashion, you were able to tell that, yes, their commitment to actual gaming hardware is unmatched compared to anything in the past of theirs. That they've only, if anything, gotten stronger, saying, hey, yes, we don't matter. It doesn't matter how you play our games or whatever, what way, yada, yada. but they're giving more and more options in the console sphere to get you in to play these. No matter if it's, the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series S, the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, the Xbox One X, even though that's technically discontinued, but you're able to still buy the One S. So, like, they're giving you more options than ever to get in and play console gaming. And it's clearly, if you even look at it percentage-wise, what they're still putting all their eggs in their basket. That's not going to change anytime soon. Until, let's put it this way, until 5G is readily and easily available to every single person, like 90% of the population, I don't see them ever really turning away and saying, hey, we're nixing, or we're putting console gaming on the back burner. That's more of a novelty at this point. Like, you could just beam everything there. It's not going to happen because, one, they make too much money on it. Two, they also know the fact that they're going to be, the large majority of their audience isn't going to be able to use their streaming capabilities to the extent that they feel comfortable cutting ties with their console. That I think we're not going to see them drift away from that. But at the same time, on the other end, I do think this is going to completely open the door to that person who is interested in getting into gaming, or I used to game a lot, but I've kind of gotten away from it. But, I would be, if I can get a deal on a system, maybe, I'd like to play the new Madden, or I'd like to play the new Halo, or what. I see Halo's coming out, I want to play that, or, the new Elder Scrolls, or whatever. Like, I want to make sure I play that, I'm interested in that. Okay, well, hopefully soon, yeah, you could just say, yeah, you could sign up for it. Actually, you have a smart TV. Yeah, I got one. Yeah, you can just do it right from there, from your Samsung TV, your Sony TV, whatever. Like, it's right there. Boom, you're in. So I think that'll be easy to do. On top of also doing, a Chromecast. They can do something similar to that. Their own streaming stick, their own Amazon Fire Stick, or whatever you want to call it. Then they could easily just plug a dongle into your HDMI port, and you're good to go. So I think we've, granted, for everything that happened with Stadia and how just abysmal the launch of that was, as somebody who's used Stadia, who got it basically for free, like, to me though, I've used the actual technology behind it, and it's fucking fantastic. Like, it blows Valve's, streaming capabilities out of the water, which you would think somebody like Valve, who has been within the gaming sphere and the head of PC gaming for decades now, would have it down pat, and they, in my opinion, don't by any means. But they're starting to get there. But it's not that the technology didn't work with Stadia, it was everything else besides the technology. The technology, in my opinion, was great. It worked fucking fantastic. And, for even somebody like me, I have gig internet, but it's still also, too, I live in Western PA, and I'm sure that connection isn't as good as somebody who lives in the Bay Area. So, it's one of those, or like you, Mike, who lives in a major, close to a major metropolitan area, that they could have a little bit more reliable connection, consistently across the board. That it's just one of those things that I think this is going to be, I think Microsoft has that ability. They have the Amazon type money. I mean, they have more money than Amazon, but they have that ability to then just turn around and actually invest into their game streaming services. And as somebody who has used their game streaming services and wants to keep using them more and more, I've seen how good the technology is. It's great. It works on every device that I want it to. On my tablet, on my phone. On the phone, it actually really works very, very, very well. I'm shocked it works that well, to be quite honest. And even the touch controls on it too. But having that ability to just plug a dongle in, or literally pull an app right up on your TV to jump right in and play this game, with all you need is to go out and buy a $60 controller or whatever you want, or just a regular, cheapo Xbox controller, or just I'm sure you could just use a Bluetooth enabled controller anywhere that you get on Amazon or whatever. Like, the fact that you're able to do that, and it should open the door. It should, the barrier to entry with Xbox and with gaming in general continues to be lower and lower and lower until there is no barrier to entry. Soon is going to be, for, people are just going to naturally pay $10 a month to get their gaming content, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to detract away from traditional console gaming, because I don't think that's going anywhere. I think the novelty of that is always going to be first and foremost across the board with everyone until, 2050 or whatever at the earliest. But I digress. Mike, let's end the party chat before we wrap up the episode this week. If you're new to the show, party chat is where we just propose one question at the end of each week that we just want to talk about. Could be, what's your simple, or it could be as simple as, I should say, what's your favorite story beat in the game? What have you been playing? What do you, things that could be that simple, or it could be a little more in depth to, what ways of mental health can gaming improve, make your mental health improve and things like that. So after we ask that question, talk it to ourselves, we kick it over to you to answer the question. We want to hear from you, and you can tweet us at GPGC Podcast, your answers over on Twitter, or our email, bonusaccessory@gmail.com, and we may even read it on the show the following week. Last week's question: what Xbox franchise would you like to see make a surprise return at E3 this year? And Joel M said, "Blink's the Time Sweeper, baby." That's an offshoot one. I'll give him credit on that one. Him and Jeff Keighley are the two people I think really holding out hope for that one. This week's question, kind of in the similar vein, Mike. What game that is rumored to be at E3 releasing? What game that is rumored to be at E3 releasing within the Xbox ecosystem? There we go. Are you most excited to see? So, not that it's been confirmed. Obviously, we can take Elden Ring out. That's out of the mix now. That's already been confirmed. But out of everything rumored that we've heard that's releasing on Xbox, could be third party, could be first party, could be, partnered or whatever. Anything we're hearing that involves Xbox. And that, you know what? I'll even open it up to service or hardware or whatever. The game I think is the most logical one. What's your biggest Xbox rumor I guess you're hoping to see?
This one's tough. For Xbox rumor that I'm hoping to see, let me preface this answer with a question first. Is Ninja Team Ninja, they're not like showing anything, right?
I don't think so, because they just had Ninja Gaiden Master Collection literally just came out today, I believe.
Wait, came out?
Yeah, I believe so. Don't get the PC port. I've heard it's not good. Actually, I don't even think I'm going to cut this part out. But I want to see what.
Yikes! It's got a 6 out of 10 on Steam.
Yeah, I was going to say it is mixed right now, but yeah, some of the. Hey, you know what? I'll give them credit though. They got a launch day special going on for 10% off. So you know what, Koei Tecmo, good on you. Good on you. But no, I don't think so, because I think they're going to probably be focused on that, I would imagine, support, and they probably aren't. It seems like they're still pretty early on with everything, as far as I know, with their next title. So I wouldn't think so. Who the hell knows? Maybe, but
I'm reading this review while we're talking, and good God, this is what I'm worried about when. Oh God. Anyway, this is the shit that I talk about when I'm talking about remasters, reworks, whatever the fuck you want to call it, whatever term you want to use. This is the shit I'm talking about. That if you're gonna touch a game like this, this is the shit that just can't happen. This shit.
The Metacritic.
Can't happen.
You know what? The Metacritic said a 74. That's not.
Ninja Gaiden Sigma sucks. You can't come out and make this rework Master Collection and put the worst fucking version of the first game in it and expect people to like it. Like, it's just not the case.
Donkey Kong sucks. You know what? You suck.
Now my panties are all up in a bunch. Well, the question was about Xbox rumors. Christ almighty.
Yeah.
I hope we fucking see, you know what? I hope we see goddamn Fable. I hope we fucking see some footage of Fable. That's what I want to see.
There we go. That's what I like to hear. Throw it on out there.
I'm so distraught, guys. If anyone out there knows me, knows I love my Ninja Gaiden, guys, I am really sad.
I really don't. We know why they ended up going with why they ended up going with the Sigma versions, because they don't have the fucking
rights.
Well, no, they don't have the. I think it was they don't have the source.
Oh, they don't
code.
have the source code's like MIA or
for the original.
disappeared.
Yeah, for black, or I think specifically black. They said, which sucks because that's the one you like.
It's like the
right?
best version.
Yeah,
this is the best version. Absolutely, yeah.
So, so you say Fable. I would really like to see. I really want to just know what Omen is, Project Omen from Arcane. I really would like to see that. The easy answer is to say like, oh, I want to see I want to see Starfield. I want to be able to see that, but it's tough to say. The one thing though, I do want to, I've heard a little bit about, and I haven't really necessarily heard a ton about it, but I heard enough from certain people that I feel okay, like saying that we may see it. But IO Interactive has a new project that is an Xbox exclusive, from what I've heard. I don't know if that was confirmed yet, but from what I've heard, that it is an Xbox exclusive. IO Interactive, who made Hitman, the new Hitman series, I should say. And there's even potential rumors that I'm hearing about a studio acquisition with them. I don't know. I don't know if that's for sure going to happen. It's them, Crytek, and who was the other one? There was one more. This whole episode has been me like researching stuff on the fly. It feels like
it happens.
Xbox acquisition. There was one. It was Crytek, IO, and who was it? Where the hell is it? I know I saw it somewhere. Not Compulsion. They already have Compulsion. I don't know. But three studios, knowing one is potentially Crytek, one is potentially IO. So I'd be interested to see how that kind of evolves. I would like to see... It's a multiplayer game from what I've heard. So I'd be interested to see what IO can do with a multiplayer game. Knowing how intricately designed Hitman is, I would like to see how they take that mindset, not necessarily the formula of Hitman by any means, because I think it's like a dragon game or something like that. I'm not sure. But just taking their philosophy that they have with game design and the uniqueness that they have, and see what they can do with that in a multiplayer game, I'd be really interested in. But outside of that, probably Project Omen as well from Arcane, to see what comes of that, and from a rumored aspect. And really, even Starfield hasn't been officially confirmed, so I guess you could say that, but that's a whole other ball of wax. I think everybody and their mother is expecting that to be there. So
I could be toxic. Okay, I'm in a toxic mood now.
There you go. You know what? Go ahead. Get it.
You know what rumor I'd like to see come true? I'd like to see 343's fucking game. I'd like to see what they're working on.
There actually is. You know what? There's actually what is it? Project I'm fucking Googling again. Halo, supposedly there is another project that's coming from, or that potentially might be related to Halo, that's going to be shown. It's something related to like Spartans or some project, something that a lot of people are kind of pointing to, saying like, oh, this is related to Halo, or it could be another Halo Wars, or it could be part of a separate multiplayer project with Halo. Could be the standalone battle royale, something like that. So that's kind of rumored around there. Like I said, I feel like I've been just fucking Googling shit the whole time, but Jeff Grubb talked about it today on his Games Mesh show, and he wasn't 100% sure on it. So I'm not 100% sure on it. And I would default to him if he knows more than me, but I've heard, he's heard stuff. I've kind of heard a few things about that there is something else that could be related to Halo. So what that is, who the fuck knows? But I'd like to see maybe what that, what comes of that. But for what we have heard a lot of in terms of the rumor mill, Project Typhoon from IO and Project Omen from Arcane, especially from Arcane. I love Arcane. I love their first-person sims that they have. I'd love to see what they can do. So, Mike, I think that's going to do it for our episode this week. Why don't you tell people where they can find you on the interwebs to talk about all the nerdy stuff we talked about today?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at TOYSXLDIER. It's Toy Soldier, and the second O is an X. Or you can find me on Twitch at MP_Toy Soldier.
Nice. And as always, I'm your host, Travis White, aka Travelus, on most internet platforms, including at Travelus_, that's TRAVLESS_ on Twitter.com. And if you want to watch me stream some stuff from time to time on Twitch.tv, you can do so at Twitch.tv/Travelus_, same as Twitter. And if you want to play some video games with me, you can do so over on Xbox Live. There we go. Just regular old Travelus, that's TRAVLESS, no _. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has been episode 102. The newest episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, and PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversation around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show when they drop each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So be sure to subscribe to us, rate us, review us, all that jazz wherever you get a podcast at, and follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games like, and our dope giveaways. And Mike, that's going to do it for our episode this week. Thank you everyone so much for listening, sharing, and being a part of our growing community. Game on, wash your hands, listen to the doctors. Black Lives Matter, and we will see you next week.